Welcome back to Grade 5, Unit 2 on Early American Civilizations. We are doing Domain 2, Lesson 4, Ancient Hieroglyphics. Our objectives for today's lesson are to describe the importance of the Maya writing and mathematical systems and summarize some possible reasons for the decline of the Maya civilization. We're also identifying subjects and predicates in sentences and identifying run-on sentences and rewriting them into complete sentences. We're going to distinguish between root words and words with the prefixes I, L, and IR, and use the words correctly. And we're going to revise, edit, and rewrite a paragraph using the criteria outlined in a provided rubric. Our key vocabulary is interpret, to explain or determine the meaning of something, distinct, different in a noticeable way, a pulley, a simple machine made of a wheel or set of wheels used with a rope or chain to raise and lower objects. Mortar, a wet substance that hardens as it dries to hold bricks or stones together. Stucco, a type of plaster used as a decoration or to cover walls. Disperse, to spread apart in different directions. Epidemic, a sudden widespread illness. Artisan, a person who is skilled at making things by hand, a craftsperson. A tunic is a knee-length piece of clothing, like a simple dress, and dwindle is to become smaller or lessen over time. Our purpose for reading today is to read carefully to learn about the important developments of the Maya civilization and what may have led to its decline. So as you read your text for today, that's what you're going to be looking and focusing on those developments and actually what happened to the Mayans. And your big question is what factors led to the development and decline of the ancient Mayan civilization. So this is what you're focused on when you're reading. Same thing as before, I'm going to pause for about 5 seconds at a time. You're going to read the text independently. And if at any time you need to pause the video to read more carefully or need help, or just need to take some more time, feel free to do so. Okay, now we're into our word work for today. Our word work for today is distinct. The Maya developed a system of writing that used around 800 distinct glyphs. Distinct means different in a noticeable way, and it is an adjective. So what that means is there's different ways of looking at something. It's very specific. So we're going to be talking about that subject and predicate again. So the sentence we've been given is David Stewart began sketching carvings when he was 8 years old, developed a system of writing with about 800 distinct glyphs. So if we're looking at this, you guys notice that the subject of this is David Stewart. That's who this was about. And then it goes into remember we talked about action verbs and linking verbs. It goes into began sketching carvings when he was only 8 years old. But you see this other end of this sentence and how that part of the sentence didn't really need to be there, and it's actually kind of like a run-on sentence. So the second group of words are fragments because it does not have both a subject and a predicate. So if that was its own sentence, it would be David Stewart also developed a system of writing about 800 distinct glyphs. So that one doesn't have both of them in them. So if I was to correct this sentence, it would say David Stewart began sketching his carvings when he was only 8 years old. That way we have a subject and we have our predicate. Now we're looking at run-on sentences. Traders used this early form of mathematics for business. Architects used it to build pyramids. This is an example of a run-on sentence. It's actually two sentences that are put together, but they just haven't been punctuated properly. I look at it as in where are you going to take your breath, or where is the idea? What points of this are the sentences different about different things? So if you look at it, it says traders use this early form of mathematics for business. Okay, that's one piece of idea. Okay, architects used it to build pyramid. So they're talking about how they use the mathematics to create different things, but they didn't have to be in the same sentence because they're talking about two different subjects. So if I were to correct this, it would say traders used this early form of mathematics for business. Architects used it to build pyramids. Notice how I took a breath after that sentence for that period. And now we were able to create two separate sentences from one thought. So be careful when you are writing to not have run-on sentences. We want to make sure we punctuate properly. We're going to do some practice with our prefixes IL and IR. The prefixes IL and IR both mean not and are added to root words that are adjectives. The prefixes IL and IR do not change the part of speech of the word. The new word is still going to be an adjective. So what we're going to do is we are going to determine if we need to put that the prefix in or not after we read the sentences. So the first sentence is, Maya farmers worked hard to supply food to the city-states. Is that responsible or irresponsible? Well, if they worked really hard to supply food, that's responsible. Next one, made from hundreds of pieces of jade, King Pakal's death mask was found inside the Temple of Inscriptions after having been buried for many years. Is this a replaceable item or irreplaceable item? Well, that sounds very expensive and very detailed, so that is definitely irreplaceable. You can't replace it. He was in such a rush when he wrote the paragraph that it was difficult to read what he wrote. Well, I know if I was reading something and I couldn't read it, it's not legible, it's illegible. People from different classes of society use the Maya system of counting often in their daily lives. Well, the key word in that one is often. If they used it often, they used it regularly. If you are of the right age and have successfully passed a driving test, you can drive a car. So is that legal or illegal? Well, we know if they pass the test, they can legally drive the car. So this is including those IL and IR prefixes to the word. Remember, those mean not, so adding that changes the meaning of the word. This is also an introduction for our project that we're going to be working on throughout this entire unit. So I'm actually going to go back a little bit. Sorry, went too far. And we're looking at this image right here. This image, if you remember from your reading, is a codex. So this is the example of what a codex is. So a codex is the name for an early book created by scribes who painted glyphs onto folded bark paper. You're actually going to create your own codex, which is an explanatory writing piece about some cultural aspect of different early American civilizations as a writing project for this unit, and it will be referred to as the Codex Project. So when I mention it as the Codex Project, you'll know what you're working on. And I'll kind of explain that a little bit more in a little bit. So this is what your assignment is for today. Your job for today is to figure out what topic you would like to write about. So your choices, so there are three choices. There's architecture, farming methods, or social classes. And don't worry if you're confused about them now. We're going to get into talking more in depth about each of those. But your job is to figure out if you would like to write about architecture, farming methods, or social classes. And then you're going to write 2 sentences to explain why that interests you. Why did you like architecture? Why do you like farming methods? Why do you like social classes? Don't just say, that because it's cool, because I'm interested. We want more specific details. We want you to support it and make it more detailed so we can figure out if that's definitely something we want you to continue working on. So remember, you're picking architecture, farming methods, or social classes. This is very, very important, and you will see this whenever I talk about the Codex project. I will be posting this as well. This is your rubric. This is how your Codex project will be graded. So as you write it, make sure you're looking for these things. So your introduction, in order for it to be exemplary, your sentences are clear. Your sentence clearly expresses a big idea about the topic. So your intro is it shows the big idea about the topic, and it's very clearly expressed. One that's not is that doesn't relate to the topic. So if you're talking about architecture and you're saying, I just love fruit and vegetables. Do you see how those don't make sense together? And anyways, that's not really a strong one anyways, but you get my point. We want you to be more towards that exemplary. So this is the column that you're going to focus on. The body, what that means is the meat of your writing, the middle part, the part with all those details. That's what that body means. So for exemplary, we want all details and supporting sentences are about, they're presented logically. We're not just kind of writing whatever, just to write whatever. And then if you're not really showing it, it means you don't have any details and they're not really written properly. So it's important when you pick your topic, you have supporting details and they make sense with what you're stating for your topic. Your conclusion, remember, is kind of like a restate of your introduction, but it's not copying the exact same sentence. It includes new thinking about the topic, such as an opinion. Maybe you want to emphasize something else in your writing. And again, a beginner would be, doesn't relate anything. Structure. So the structure has two components to it. All facts relate closely to the topic. That means you're not going off into la-la land about something that doesn't make sense about the topic. It means you're really focusing on what you chose. And also, all the information has been paraphrased. We've been spending time talking about what it means to paraphrase, not copy directly from the text. If we see copying, then we're going to take that as plagiarism, and that is not okay. So it's really important that you're looking at all your information is not copied word for word from the text. Again, this is your rubric for grading your codex project. We will be, every time that we talk about the codex project, this will be posted so that you are familiar with it and you can refer to it often. And that is the end of today's lesson. So be sure to go and complete your assessment where you're going to choose your topic and give us reasons why you chose that topic. And we will see everyone in the next video.